Welcome back to On the Edge with me, Theo Chalmers, and my special guest, Anthony Beckett. Just before the break then, we were looking at what may or may not be trees on Mars, great forests.
Evidence for current life on Mars, yeah.
Evidence for current life on Mars. Okay, so if there is current life on Mars, is there also evidence for maybe some older life, fossils, for instance?
Well, yeah, the NASA's view of Mars is that it was possibly a kind of a life-bearing planet, like, you know, millions of years ago, and as such, you know, if life on there, you're going to have fossilized remains of such life. It just so happens that when they landed the Mars Exploration Rovers, Spirit and Opportunity,
which is still going,
which is still up and running, yeah, from the last 6 years, they've been running around the opposite ends of the planet. Excuse me, at the opposite ends of the planet, in two areas which you basically believe to be bottoms of former oceans.
Okay, I think it's important actually to state also that they were supposed to die, these rovers, because their cells,
the solar powered
cells were supposed to get all dusty, and that was it. But then miraculously, they got cleaned.
Yeah, the solar panels keep getting cleaned off, and you see the power output and the power it keeps kind of ramping back up again to 90+%.
So this probably suggests that it rains on Mars.
NASA's,
or unless they're little Martian guys with a spray and a duster.
NASA's argument is that what's happening is you get little twister sandstorms happening. NASA claims that that's what's clearing the dust off. It might well be. That process would do it. But we don't have an example of this photograph, but there are images of taken just after the cells have been cleaned, where you can see what just looks like puddles of water on the ground. So yeah.
So there goes the whirlwind. There goes. Okay, so like I said, we've got some evidence that there may or may not be trees. And what about fossils or something?
Well, as I said, the Spirit and Opportunity are running around on these former ocean beds, and what actually happened? One of the rovers, Spirit, was actually sent into a rock to investigate. It has a drill on board, so it drills into the rock and check the mineral content or something like that. But basically, it drills into this rock. The first time it drilled into something, it took a photograph and then it started drilling. People looked at the photograph of what it drilled. I don't have the example of this one, but they looked at the photograph and it looked like what looked like a crinoid, like a sea organism, but a fossilized one in the rock. And before we got a chance to look again, the drill went and drilled straight through it.
Well, there's a long delay, isn't there? If you give an instruction to Mars, it's
you can
a couple of minutes delay.
But you would expect them to look at the photograph before they start drilling, really, wouldn't you? So.
Okay, well let's look at some images. We have got some. Yeah. Funnily enough, we've got some more pictures. How about number 17, please?
Now, if the images on the left are taken by the rover Spirit.
Yeah.
They're just very close-up images, not very good resolution because they're mostly on quite broad images.
Okay.
But what they do show is...
I think it's important to state before we go any further, before people get too excited, that the images on the right are on Earth.
Yeah, they're earthly kind of organisms.
That one at the bottom there is a spiny urchin, isn't it? I think that's also called an echinoid, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, so the ones on the right are the living urchins, but what we have on the left are just spherical objects found in the rocks by Spirit. And I think these look very, very suspiciously like what you'd expect from a fossil on the Earth of an urchin. So if you were looking, for example, if you took that photograph to a geologist and said, "What is this?" they would possibly come back and say, "Oh, it looks like a fossilized urchin."
And they're incredibly common on Earth.
Yeah, they're common on Earth, and basically
there are hundreds of species of them.
Yeah, and so basically, what this is evidence of, well, if we make the assumption that Mars is a dead planet and never had life, they can't possibly be fossilized organisms. If we say that we don't know whether there was life on Mars, they could possibly be.
Well, the problem is we haven't got them in our hands. We can't analyse them.
We would need to need to basically do more work to study these.
Get one back. Yeah. Okay, but it's not just these, is it? There's other images. Let's go to number 18 as well.
Yeah, this is an example of what people claim to look like evidence of a trilobite.
And a trilobite is an extinct aquatic shelled beast, isn't it? Yeah. It sort of like folds up a bit like a woodlouse, isn't it?
Yeah, like a woodlouse. They can roll up into a ball, but most of the time you can understand them as being like kind of.
And they're extinct on Earth, aren't they? But they're very, very common.
Yeah, they're sea organisms basically. So they are what would have had in the oceans like millions of years ago.
and the Pleistocene or something.
And what someone has done here is basically this, in this particular example, is found a piece of rock on a photograph from Spirit and identify a patch that looks like it is a fossilised trilobite. It doesn't mean it's a fossilised trilobite, it means it looks like one.
It could be a Mars trilobite, couldn't it?
Yeah,
It could be slightly different. But it doesn't look entirely just like a rock.
No, it's one of those things that warrants further investigation, but NASA have not done any investigation into fossil remains on Mars, despite all these. These are just a few examples, but NASA has not taken this part of the issue seriously.
Well, Simon Lewis has texted again, and he says, I met a doctor in the 90s who worked on the Viking missions, who said they found life, but NASA decided it was classified. So, hello again, Simon. Well, maybe they're still deciding it's classified. Okay, all right. We've got another image of what may or may not be fossilised marine life of some kind. Let's look at number 19.
Yeah, this one again taken by Spirit, I think, and it shows, you see kind of ribbed part in the middle. We should have really highlighted this maybe, but it looks like, if you show this to a geologist on Earth, he might say to you, oh, it looks like a crinoid. Again,
Crinoid?
Yeah, I don't really know too much about what a crinoid is, but other than
that's
a sea
one
creature.
of them, possibly.
Yeah.
So it does look like a chalk cliff, doesn't it, in Kent or somewhere, with a fossil in it.
These are all, excuse me, these are all examples of evidence of what could be fossilised remains on Mars. And the point of this is simply that NASA has not dealt with that subject. It has not looked at these images at least it's not been disclosed that it's been looking at these images, and has not done a proper analysis of these images in that context.
It does seem to be always the case that when interesting things are found in these images, they're found by outside observers, people who are outside NASA.
Yeah.
So, perhaps that is the case. But, I mean, there is one very famous image, isn't there, of just totally bizarre thing.
Oh, I know what you're referring to.
I think we've got to go to this. This is called, which NASA has called Little Bigfoot, haven't they?
Yeah, this name was given to it by NASA.
Okay, let's go to image 20. Now, there's not an awful lot to see in this image on this scale, unless you zoom in to the bottom left. But this is an image from one of the rovers, isn't it?
Yes, it's from Spirit again.
Spirit.
And I think this one is a calibrated one properly as well, so it's actually got quite a nice blue sky.
It's got a blue sky, hasn't it? And I've got to say, it almost looks a bit green as well, some of that.
Interesting.
But okay, all right, so we've kept you waiting long enough. Let's zoom in to the bottom left and see. Oh, look, on that rock in the middle distance there on the left is what looks like somebody sitting there waving.
Yeah, NASA described it as Little Bigfoot, and it made all the newspapers in the UK, I think, actually.
It did, didn't it? I mean, what could it be? I mean, it's not really terribly likely to be a biped of some kind, is it? And it would be quite a small one as well.
If it was a biped, it's a very, very small one, so unlikely. It was basically, chances are it's just a piece of rock which is in shadow by the look of it. I mean, it just looked like, well, we've not come to pictures of faces yet, or bodies, but you see maybe rocks on Earth where you see a cliff face where you see like a shape in the cliff face.
Yes.
But then you go to a different angle and it's not there. You lose the illusion, and this is likely just one of those.
You think so? But it's very odd. How can it be standing above the surface like that?
Well, we don't really know what's behind the ridge of the rock in front of it, really, so we can't really say it's standing behind the surface. Really.
It is a bit of fun, though, isn't it?
It's interesting. Yeah, it's cool. It's, it gets people thinking.
It certainly does.
Maybe that's not the best thing, though, getting people thinking that this is a really big foot on Mars. Though. It might not be in anyone's interest.
Perhaps it's just a distraction.
It could well be a distraction.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right.
We had I think last week in some of the national newspapers we had an image was posted. An article was put forward about trees on Mars. Actually, I think on the next image we have.
Well, I think we'll go to the next image, and then we'll go to 21A. There we go.
Yeah, and people claim, the newspapers claim that these, on top of these sand dunes, which you see more or less at the bottom, you see these tall, lax things that could really be interpreted as kind of, say, conifer trees. And the article in the newspaper was referring to about people thinking this is evidence for trees on Mars. We've seen some other evidence for trees on Mars, which to me is a bit more it's a bit more interesting. It's a bit more warrants further investigation. What NASA say about these dark spots, which some people think are trees, is that it is basically just material rolling down the top of the